All right, so in 7-7 we talked about determinants of a 2x2 and a 3x3, and then minors and cofactors of a 2x2 and a 3x3. So that's what we're going to cover on this warm-up. So the minors for number 1, technically you would cross through the row and the column that each of those cells are in. And the result in a 2x2 is that they basically switch corners. So the 6 and the 2 switch, and the 0 and the -5 switch. Those would be your minors. The cofactors, you would change the signs on the cells that are in the top right corner and the bottom left corner once you find the minors. So the cofactors here would be 6, 0, because it doesn't hold a sign, +5, and +2. Questions on those? Yep.
So for the minors, you just use switch all the places of the diagonals, right?
For the 2x2, I mean, when I cross through the row and the column that 2 is in, let's say, all that's left is 6. The same thing's going to happen if I cross through the row and the column that -5 is in. All that's going to be left is that 0.
Okay.
So
that only falls for 2x2.
that only falls for the 2x2. Yeah.
And for the cofactors, you change the negative.
You change the signs on this location and this location once you have the minors.
And for 0, you don't put negative.
But there's no such thing. Yeah. Mauricio, are you good?
Yeah.
Anthony?
Was there to do the notation?
No, for the long one, maybe I would just make sure you're really careful. I'm not looking for the notation. I'm just looking for your answer. But again, I would just avoid trying to do it all in your head.
Okay.
Yeah. Christian?
So for the minors, for the 2x2, you switch both?
You can. Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, so then for the 3x3, this time I'm going to cross them through. So in that first, if it's a 3x3, I'm getting out of it a 3x3. In the first cell, if I cross through the row and the column that it's in, I'm left with 2, 1, which is 2. So I'm going to do the determinant here. 2 times 1, which is 2, minus a -1. 2 plus 1, which is 3. And then I go to the next one, and I do the row and the column. And I'd get 1 times -3, which is -3, minus 1, which is -4. And then I go to the next one. So row and column, that one's in. And I would do -1 times -3, which is 3, minus 2 times 1, which is 2. And I get 1. And then I go to the next row. So cross through row 2, column 1 first, and I get 1 times 0, which is 0, minus -1 times 2, which is a -2. That becomes +2. Cross through row 2, column 2 this time, and I'd get 1 times 4, which is 4, minus 2 times 1, which is 2, and that's 2. And then cross through row 2, column 3, and I get -1 times 4, which is -4, minus 1 times 0, which is 0, and I get -4. And then I go to row 3. So cross through row 3, column 1 first, and I get 1 times 0, which is 0, minus 2 times 2, which is 4, -4. Row 3, column 2, 1 times 4, which is 4, minus a -6, which becomes +6, which is 10. And then row 3, column 3, 2 times 4, which is 8, minus -3 times 0, which is 0, and I get 8. So the minors would be 3, -4, 1, 2, 2, -4, -4, 10, and 8. Everybody good so far?
The cofactors are the original ones?
The cofactors now come off of this. So what 4 locations do I change the sign on? Good. Your north, south, east, west. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 locations, the rest of them stay the same. So it would be 3, +4, 1, -2, 2, +4, -4, -10, and 8. And those are the cofactors. Questions on those? Okay, and then comes the determinant. So we've already been doing this with the 2x2s. This is that little Jesus fish looking thing, right? I multiply that top left, bottom right diagonal first. So -2 times 4 minus -1 times 3. And I get -8 minus a -3, which becomes -5. Still with me? And then the fun begins. So I rewrite the first two columns again to the right. First mistake I'll see on this quiz is that somebody forgets a negative on when they rewrite it. So make sure you're careful, okay? And then we do the first diagonals running top left, bottom right. Multiply along those diagonals. So 2 times 2 times 1 is 4. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. 0 times 4 times 2 is 0. Add them all together and I end up 0. Come back the other way. 0 times 2 times 4 is 0. 2 times 1 times 2 is 4. Negative 1 times 4 times 1 is negative 4. Add those up and I also get 0. And then I do the first one minus the second one, which in this case is 0. That is a determinant. You can have a determinant of 0. It's just that if a matrix has a determinant of 0, if a 2 by 2 has a determinant of 0, it doesn't have an inverse, okay? But it doesn't mean it's not a determinant. It is still the answer.
Wait, so if a 3 by 3 has a determinant of zeros, it still can have an inverse?
No. Well, you just don't do it the same way.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't use that in your, you wouldn't even know to test for it because we don't use that process to find the 3 by 3. Quiz covers 7.5 to 7.7. I put a review right on the quiz assignment. There's no submission on it, okay? There is one document with the questions and then the answers just listed on the last page. And then there's another one with the actual questions worked out. My advice is don't look at the answers until you've done the work because you can't unsee them and then you get overconfident because you think you know what you're doing, but it's because you've seen the answers. So obviously use the answers to check, but I would try to do it without them first. So in 7.5 we did adding, subtracting, matrices. And remember with these, they have to have the same dimensions. And then we did multiplying by a scalar. And then the combination of those, like a 2a plus 3b kind of a thing. My advice is check it first. Make sure you can even do it before you start multiplying by the scalar, because otherwise you're wasting time that you don't need to do it. And then also in this section was multiplying. Matrices. And this is the one where the inner two numbers must match. And the result is the outer two. So something like a
3 by 2 and 2 by 2.
Yep, 3 by 2 and a 2 by 2. These match, and your result would be a 3 by 2. You could do a 3 by 1 and a 1 by 4. These match, and your result would be a 3 by 4. Again, check it. Make sure you check it before you start working it out. Questions on 7.5. Easy stuff, right? Just, again, watch your silly mistakes. And there's practice problems and all that stuff on your review. 7.6 was inverses. So this is where we were identifying if two matrices were inverses or verifying that they are. If two matrices are inverses, then what's the pattern that their multiplication should result in? Good. So if I do A times B and both A and B, or A is the inverse of B, B is the inverse of A, then A, B should be 1, 0, 0, 1. BA should be 1, 0, 0, 1. And if it was 3, then it would be 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1 for both 3 by 3 multiplications. Yep.
This is if you find if B is the inverse of A, you have to multiply both.
Yeah, because it could happen that AB gives you 1, 0, 0, 1, but BA does not. And then you'll have thought it was the inverse and it's not. And then there's the actual finding of the inverse. So for a 2 by 2, this is where we did 1 over the determinant times, and we switch. So if I'm finding it of A, B, C, D, then we switch the order of D and A, and we change the signs on B and C. If the determinant is 0, what happens here?
There's no inverse.
Good, no inverse. So if the determinant is 0, then there's no inverse. Yep. I mean, you'd technically be trying to multiply it by something that's undefined, so hopefully you would catch it. And then the 3 by 3 is where you're looking for. So if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I'm working until I get to 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1 by doing my row operations. And then once the left side looks like the right side, whatever's on the right-hand side will now be your inverse. On the original quiz review, so if you downloaded it before today, there was not a 3 by 3 on there. Number 6 is different from what it was yesterday, so make sure if you've downloaded it that you re-download it. The only thing that's different is number 6. Number 6 is a 3 by 3. You definitely need to know how to do those. Yep.
Any questions?
There's 8, but like cofactors and minors is in one question, so they're around 10 points apiece-ish. And then 7-7 is what we just finished. So 7-7 is your minors and cofactors and determinants.
Can you go back up?
Mm-hmm. And for all of these, you're going to do it for a 2 by 2 and a 3 by 3. So just like the warm-up, make sure you would know how to do all those questions. That's it. This should be a relatively easy quiz. Okay? Just be really careful. Silly mistakes get made when you start rewriting numbers, especially when you're doing the 3 by 3 determinant and you go to rewrite those first 2 columns. I've seen a lot of people rewrite those first 2 columns wrong. And they get the whole thing wrong, even though you know the entire process. Just be really careful. Questions for me on your quiz?
Is it hard?
I don't think so.
What about like the length?
I think it's fine. It might take you a little bit of time to do like the 3 by 3 determinant and the inverse, but you've got, like, I'll come in, I'll answer questions, and then we'll get started. So that's why I'll probably take the 3 by 3 inverse off the test, because once you add on another section, there's some stuff in the next section that gets a little lengthy.
Talking about the one where they do this fractional one?
Yeah.
Is there maybe like a language question?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a scalar with an addition, and then a multiplication, and then each of the inverses like the 2 and then the 3, and then each of the determinants the 2 and then the 3, and then a minor and a cofactor the 2 and then the 3. So it's pretty straightforward.
Do I have a calculator?
No, your brain is your calculator. You could do it. I have faith in you.
But
Yep.
it won't be like
They're not like huge numbers. No.